Brexit. How long can it last? So the Peterborough By-Election went ahead a couple of nights ago. But what does it mean for Corbyn, for the next Tory Prime Minister, for the Brexit Party? How long can these parties, can the squabbling between Leave and Remain really last? And does it mean that Labour are automatically going to be the next governing party, with Corbyn the next Prime Minister? Well, today we're going to explore all those questions, but first let's take a look at the Peterborough election result itself. So turnout was 48%. This is a constituency that voted over 60% to leave the EU back in 2016. And you can see clearly that the Labour Party won the most number of votes, but not far behind was the Brexit Party, only 600 odd votes between them. But way behind, and unusually for this constituency, was the Conservative Party, doing very, very poorly. They're normally either second or first. This is the first time that they've been third, and not only third, but a good 2,000 votes behind second place. And then the Liberal Democrats did slightly better than expected, although this is not a seat for them, along with the Greens, and UKIP pretty much become a busted flush now and aren't really showing much purpose when the Brexit Party's around. So, why did Labour do so well, or why did Labour at least hold the seat? 63% of Labour voters see the NHS as a top national issue. Now, what has been playing out in the campaign is the fact that the Brexit Party doesn't really have any other mandate issues, and the views of Nigel Farage being implied by the mainstream media are that he accepts some form of privatisation of the NHS. Now, if people don't want the NHS privatised, if they don't want that kind of more elitist style of politics that favours those higher classes of people, then they will vote for a party like the Labour Party, which is more vehemently geared towards the working classes. It has more of a reputation for being in support of working class culture. However, I think most of us would agree that the NHS is not the top issue currently facing the country, and it's probably Brexit, in which case the Labour Party struggled to win over their working class heartlands in the north that voted to leave, compared to their more kind of middle class metropolitan areas that voted to remain. And so they're split in the country halfway down the middle between this Leave and Remain voice, and they don't know whether to offer leaving with a customs union or remaining by offering a second referendum with an option to remain. And that's probably why they haven't stormed this election. On top of that, of course, the previous MP was arrested for driving offences and was known for going into parliamentary debates with a tag on her ankle, and was eventually ousted by the constituency party. She was the one MP that voted against no deal in Parliament, if you remember that. And the new candidate, Lisa Forbes, has been cited with a number of anti-Semitic Facebook tweets amongst the mainstream media. I haven't looked into this specifically, so if you don't think that she's anti-Semitic, I'm not saying the specifics. I'm just saying what the general gist of the election was. So Labour got 30.9% of the vote share, the Brexit Party got 28.9%, Conservatives got really low, 21.4%, Lib Dems got 12.3%, the Greens got 3.1%, and UKIP got 1.2%. But if we look at the vote share percentage changes, we can see that the Labour Party, and more importantly the Conservative Party, have lost it out massively. Conservatives lost 25% of the vote share, Labour lost 17%. Obviously, the Brexit Party gained because they're an entirely new party, but the Lib Dems also gained 8.9%, the Greens gained 1.3%, and UKIP gained 1%. It's more or less meaningless there, but the bit we can interpret is the Conservative and Labour losses versus the Brexit gains. Now, this is a chart you won't get anywhere else. I looked at the Labour and Conservative and Liberal and Green and right-wing vote share in this election compared to how they've averagedly done. So you can see that the Labour average in this seat is 41.9%. But in this election, they got only 30.9%, so 10% lower than their average. Whereas the Tory average can be 45.7%, and they only got 21.4%. I'm wondering whether the Brexit Party gained from the Tories or if they gain from Labour. But you can see that their vote share wasn't quite as good as the Tory or Labour averages, but they are pretty much on par with the Labour Party as they currently stand. So yes, they're not a Tony Blair Labour Party or a Margaret Thatcher Tory Party at the moment, but they are certainly at least third or fourth in the total party standings. The Lib Dems in this seat pretty much match their average. The Greens doubled their average. And if you compare the Brexit Party to kind of right-wing parties of the past, like UKIP and the BNP and the National Front, they've all competed in this seat. They've obviously done a lot better than previous right-wing alternative parties. So the average time a party stays in office is 9 years and 2 months. We are currently on 9 years. So it's likely that should we hold an election, the party in power would change. That's why we're probably not going to have an election anytime soon. Also, do not think that Corbyn is automatically safe, because the average time a Labour leader stays in office is 4 years, 11 months, and we're currently on 4 years for Jeremy Corbyn. The average vote share for Labour is 39%. That's taking all elections since 1945. Current polling puts Labour at 20%. Of course, that election in Peterborough put him around 30%. So he's way off his average vote share for the Labour Party, proving that Corbyn is not a popular leader. He's not likely to lead the Labour Party into automatic success in the next election, and it's all up for grabs. The Tory Party look weak, the Labour Party look weak, the Lib Dems and the Brexit Party are looking strong out of the Leave Remain vote. So, if we take a look at projected overall vote share, we can see pretty much almost quarters with, a slither for everyone else. So the Brexit Party are projected to take 26% of the overall country's vote share, Labour Party about 20%, the Lib Dems again on par about 20%, the Conservatives about 18%, the Greens on 9%, others on 5%, including the SNP, and UKIP on 1%. What will that mean in terms of seats and the parliamentary majorities? Well, the number of seats needed to hold a majority is 326. According to polling, the number of seats that the Brexit Party will gain, even if they're polling at the top at 26% of the vote share, is 249, well below the number needed to hold a majority. Labour would get 216, the Lib Dems would get 51 seats, the Conservatives would only get 54 seats, the SNP would get 56 seats, pretty much all of Scotland, Plaid would get 5 seats, and the Greens would get 1 seat. If you were to add the parties that support remaining or a softer version of Brexit, together with the parties that support leaving or a harder form of Brexit, or the parties that you'd expect to form a coalition with, you can see that the only way to form a government is actually by having 4 parties together. That's Labour with 216, the SNP with 56 seats, the Lib Dems with 51 seats, the Greens with 1 seat, and Plaid with 5 seats. That would give a very small majority. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Tories and the Brexit Party not be far off that majority. And it all depends, really. It's all up to play for. If the Brexit Party do very well, you'd expect the Conservative Party to not do as well. But the Brexit Party could also eat into the Labour vote share, making this graph sway towards the other way. In other words, what I'm saying is there's no guarantee who's going to be the next Prime Minister following a general election. There's no guarantee that we'll leave the EU. There's no guarantee that we could remain. There's no guarantee of a second referendum. There's no guarantee of a no deal. But do you agree with me? Join in the debate below and subscribe.